What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Join Dota League Season 3. The entire season is starting to wind down, so we are in the playoff stage. This is going to be a best-of-3 series between Kompas Gaming and B+5. This is going to be determining who goes up to Division 1 for the next season and who stays in Division 2. So it's going to be a lot riding on this game. We'll see if both teams can pull it out. I'm going to be one of your casters here on HeflaTV 2. I am Mike Loris, and I'm joined by Grandis V for this best-of-3.
Yeah, it's been like 2 full days since I've cast something, so I don't know, it feels like forever. Either way, in this best-of-3 series we go, it is a best-of-3, unlike most of the JDL games, so we might actually be seeing a full series between these two. I've been seeing B+5 play for quite some time. It looks like they're rolling with several stand-ins today. So yeah, it might be affecting their performance, but hopefully it works out for them. I think they're still kind of shuffling players and finding out what works for them. Whereas Kompas Gaming, this lineup, it looks very similar, with the exception of Ninj. I have no idea how to say his name, but the 5th player on Kompas Gaming is a stand-in, I'm pretty sure. At least I haven't seen him play with them.
Yeah, I would say in general, Kompas Gaming probably have just a little bit of edge going into this. They were 14-4 from their division, whereas the B+5 side 12-6. Of course, it doesn't really mean that much, but I would say in general, Kompas Gaming probably were a little bit. They had better games in general. I mean, they have obviously had more wins, and I would say overall they're a little bit of a stronger team. But we'll see if B+5 can put up a fight. Since this is a best-of-3, the Game 1 and Game 2 could, very well just not matter. And the fact that Game 3 is going to be where it all boils down to. And I don't really like that in best-of-3s, but hey, sometimes you just got to do it, especially when you're going to determine who's going to be moving up and who's going to be staying where they are. It looks like the draft is underway, and it's pretty vanilla. The Nature's Prophet going to be banned out rather early, going to pave the way for Razor to be first picked.
Yeah, no big surprises here. Kompas Gaming have their pick of supports if they want to snag those up. Other top-tier heroes, if they want to get a lane dominator that builds a mechanism, they have the Viper available to them. Yeah, Faceless Void's in the pool, and Faceless Void Skyrath Mage is probably one of your best combinations, and Kompas Gaming might be considering picking that up. But honestly, I don't expect them to bring anything too crazy in this Game 1. If they win Game number 1 and go into Game 2 off of a win, we might see some sort of pocket strat coming out from either of the teams. Although, right now, I'd expect this to just be pretty straightforward 6.81 draft.
Yeah, you want to be as consistent as you possibly can in Game number 1, and it's when you're a game up when you want to be throwing out the weird heroes and pulling out the weird strategies, because if you lose, it doesn't really matter since you have another game to fall back on where you could just play nice and normal. But this game should be one of those nice and normal games. Kompas Gaming, they're certainly taking their time, that's for sure. Only 30 seconds left, and it's a first pick Tinker Mirana. I gotta say, I did not see these two coming.
No, I was expecting, like, Death Prophet, Faceless Void, Skyrath Mage, pick 2. But Tinker and Mirana, very, I don't know, ballsy first 2 picks. Like, the Tinker, at this point in the draft, definitely can be punished. Although incredibly annoying to play up against, it's pretty easily shut down. Although if they leave this Tinker alone and don't touch him, the Tinker could be, I don't know, just a general nuisance to play up against, and really a nightmare for the sports especially. Mirana as the second pick is probably a little bit more peculiar than the Tinker first pick, as we're running a Mirana currently with no setup for the arrows, and I don't know, it is probably going to force out the ban on either or both the Shadow Demon and the Bane, coming out from B+5, so in that sense it's a pretty nice pick, so it allows you to get more heroes through to the second picking stage. But then again, it's a Mirana. It's kind of a lukewarm pick. I would have liked to see something a little bit more targeted for their second hero.
Yeah, Arrow is a skill that I think requires just a little bit too much setup to be considered first pick, or I guess second pick quality of a skill. I mean, basically that's what you're picking Mirana for. You're picking her because you want an arrow, but it requires a lot to set up, and even though it's good, it's not really consistent. Compare that to the Skyrath Mage, Shadow Shaman, who are going to be extremely consistent, assuming they use their spells correctly. B+5, they're just going to go with just 2 powerhouses in the metagame, Death Prophet and Razor, both a little bit tankier as far as heroes are concerned, and both very capable in their lanes. I could see either one of these heroes, at the very worst, breaking even versus a Tinker, even with Mirana support. So, B+5, knowing that they're up against a Tinker, do you think they're going to be going like really hard in order to counter him, or do you think it's just going to be roaming supports or clockwork? What do you think?
I think as far as their offlaner, they're going to want to find a solid initiator. Whether that's a Clockwork, Batrider, or a Centaur, I don't think you can go wrong with any of those 3. Batrider and Clockwork, obviously, the better ones at catching out the Tinker. But, yeah, I think they're not going to, like, commit very many heroes towards the Tinker, but they definitely need to keep that in consideration that they do want to be roaming around. The Batrider's banned out, so I think Clockwork's probably your best bet as far as heroes that's going to be able to find the Tinker around the map. But then again, Centaur is still a pretty solid offlaner. But yeah, I think it's not really going to change Bened +5's game plan all that much. Even with the Tinker, Razor and Death Prophet, if they get up their core items, they can still push into the Tinker fairly effectively. Is their push, once you get Aghanims on the Razor, and once you get levels on your Death Prophet, Exorcism and Eye of the Storm don't really care about March of the Machines that much.
Alright, well, I think you pretty much hit it right on the head. I mean, Kompas Gaming, they're definitely taking precautions in order to protect the Tinker with the Faceless Void ban and the Batrider ban. So, Bennett, they're going to be looking for some initiation, and they already have 2 cores. So, another route that they can go if they don't want to go, ham on the initiation is that they could just get a very aggressive roaming duo and then just try to gank Tinker endlessly and deny him his stack, stuff like that. Kompas Gaming, they're going to solidify their support lineup first, however. Shadow Shaman Mirana is an extremely solid combo in that you always set up for the arrow, and unless you really mess up, the arrow is probably going to hit. That's even after Bennett +5 take out 2 of the supports already. Scarth Mage still in the pool, and it would be a nice little pickup for Bennett. Silence is great against Tinker and Mirana, and even Shadow Shaman when you really need to kill him off. So Bennett, they're going to be looking for their supports, and I don't think it's going to get much better than Skywrath.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think so either. But Bened +5, if they picked up the Skywrath, there's plenty of other heroes that aren't very good roamers that can be made into that with the setup coming out from Concussive Shot, as well as the damage from Arcane Bolts. I don't know, getting a Sand King on top of a Skywrath Mage would be very useful for Bened +5, but currently they're thinking about it. If they leave the Skywrath Mage in the pool, and they will do so by picking up the Viper, I really don't like this pick coming out from Bened +5. Is the Viper, it's a useful pick, don't get me wrong, but it kind of fills the same role as the Razor, and it's going to leave them lacking a lot of tools that they'd like to have to either gank or, I don't know, kill the Tinker later on in the game. Finding them out around the map, their initiation is going to be very lackluster with their 3, and a lot of this is going to have to be made up by their supports, and I don't know, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do it. Sand King would still be very useful, but then again, if you don't get another support to set up for that Bro Strike, you're going to be delaying his ability to initiate for 9 minutes, and that 9 minutes could be Tinker getting up the farm he needs for Boots of Travel if they don't block his camps.
I think the key part for this draft for Bened +5 is that all 3 of these heroes are actually fully self-sufficient in lane. So that means the 2 supports could go do whatever they want. They could be pulling, they could be ganking aggressively, and really wherever they go, they're going to be receiving some help from Bened +5 because their cores are just going to be fine no matter what. So I would expect to see 2 very aggressive supports being picked up and played as such, as well as Kompas Gaming with the Clinks pickup is very easily punishable as well. You just got to get some solid stuns, silences, all that good stuff coming out from your supports. So those are going to be the last 2 heroes from Bened +5, and I think the more aggressive they could be, the better they'll be playing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. They definitely need to do a lot with their supports around the map. The pressure is on them to make things happen, especially now with the Clinks. I don't know, if the Clinks gets off to an early start, he might be able to drop the Death Prophet, Razor, and Viper very effectively with his burst physical damage. But then again, I don't know, if he doesn't get off to a good start, this Clinks is more or less just going to be a dead hero. If Kompas Gaming get map control early, getting the early towers with Shadow Shaman, and then just constantly pushing out with the Tinker, Clinks could have a very fun time roaming around the map. It's the early game where Bened +5 really need to put the screws to Kompas with their 2 supports, and still, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't go for the Skywrath Mage here, and I'm actually pretty surprised Kompas didn't pick that up for themselves. It looks like this is just going to be a roaming Mirana since they didn't.
Alright, Grandis, I'm going to have to call you back on the Skype. We're having some hiccups here and there, so
okay.
Let's do that right now. There we go. Alright, well, hopefully that's better, guys. And yeah, if it's not, then please let me know. Otherwise, we're going to be continuing on with this draft as Bened +5 do pick up a hero that can very aggressively play in the early stage. The Enchantress is a hero that we don't see all that often, prioritizing this jungling hero, which in all likeliness would have been banned in over a more conventional roaming support. It's going to mean that Bennett are going to be playing super aggressively, and with the Razor and Viper, they can probably get away with this, especially if they're going to be pushing into the Tinker's lane.
For sure. Okay, so is Skype working better on your end? Because when it started out, you were very metallic. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you sound fine to me, right now at least.
Okay, so hopefully that stays the same and our internet doesn't crap out or anything. Yeah, I like the Enchantress pick. I think it's going to be a good hero to roam around the lanes, but they really can't sit back and passively farm with this Enchantress. They need to get some good creeps up, either a Centaur or a Dark Troll Summoner, and just, I don't know, get kills, especially on the Tinker and the Klings. Bened +5, I'm not sure what their other support is going to be, and I'm not sure it really matters all that much. Anything to set up for the Enchantress. Eventual Spirit would be, I don't know, probably one of my first picks. Ruvik is also not that terrible.
Yeah, or something even just like a Venomancer would be a nice setup. Just all the slow in the world so that Enchantress could walk her slow creeps up and then lay their disables on. Kompas Gaming, on the other hand, they have two cores in the Clinks as well as the Tinker. They're looking to play the very control-y type of game, and that's why I like the Nyx Assassin ban from the Bened +5 side. Between Clinks and Tinker, your lanes are probably always going to be just split and pushing in, usually at the same exact time. And Kompas Gaming, if they pick up another hero that has a lot of mobility, i.e. Puck, then they're going to be able to bounce around all over the place. And Bennett, they have, between all their heroes, one silence. And that's probably not going to be enough. So their next hero has to be someone with a lot of disable. I would like to see a Lion here, just because he has so many ways to lock people down.
And not to mention, just the burst damage up against a Clinks and a Tinker could be very useful. I think Lion is probably one of your better supports. Usually he's kind of, I don't know, a jack-of-all-trades support, but he does offer the dual disables, which is going to be very useful for Bened +5, as they are definitely lacking. But yeah, whatever it is, we're going to see it very quickly. I think a solid stunner would be wonderful, but they go for the Skywrath last pick, and honestly, I think this is one of the first times where I'm not a huge fan of the Skywrath. When they have the Enchantress as well, really their only true stuns are going to come up from the Enchantress creeps, and other than that, they have a Death Prophet Silence, and that's it.
Yeah, Skywrath Mage as a last pick is something that we don't see every day, and, well, the day we do see it is one that I agree isn't really the best. I mean, the silence is always going to be nice. A 6 seconds of silence from Ancient Seal, which I think at this game should very well be prioritized, is going to be very useful against the Puck and stuff like that, but Clinks is pretty much going to run without answers. Bened +5 don't have anything to lock down this Clinks at all, or nothing to stun the Tinker out of his teleportation or anything like that, so they're really going to struggle, and it's going to be up to the B+5 side to really just get things going very, very early on. They have to be super aggressive with the Skywrath Enchantress combo, and all their lanes have to win. With the Razor, Death Prophet, Viper, it's very possible for that to happen, but it's a very delicate situation for them. But we'll see if they could do it, because right now they're loading up into their lanes. We got Uniden currently on the bottom lane as the Skywrath Mage, with Blacks also supporting as the Enchantress. Gbane0 is going to be on the bottom lane Viper, with IDFC on the Death Prophet mid, and top lane is going to be Jinx on the Razor.
And currently heading up towards top on the Kompas Gaming side, we're going to have Artis handling the Clinks. The two supports are going to be Shadow Shaman handled by PSM, and then we're going to have Goddamn on the Mirana. In mid, we're going to have a Tinker handled by Afroninj, and then bottom solo safe lane Puck, we are going to have Gorik playing on that hero.
Now we do see Fee as well as Goddamn smoked up in the river. Are they going to find anything useful? Looks like they're not going to find anything at all. Double damage rune spawn down bottom, yet they are still smoked. And they are looking for a very aggressive start. Killing a Razor with just these two heroes is not going to work. Even if the Clinks was there, it's also not going to work. Searing Arrows level 1, though good to handle the lane, is not really good at killing Razors. So I don't think the smoke is really going to do anything. They're just going to place an Observe Ward. Spot the fact that there is just one hero up in here, and Razor is not going to be able to do that much. If he gets locked down, he probably will, at the very least, take a lot of damage. It's really going to be more concerning for the bottom lane Gorik, where the Puck shouldn't really have a great time versus this Viper to start off with, but with an Enchantress and Skywrath Mage rotating around, it's going to be even worse. But they're going to go up on top lane. Jinx is already getting a Shackled, Arrow to follow as well. Artis does not have any Searing Arrows, but it looks like it doesn't matter. He's going to get the last hit on the Razor regardless. That's first blood going the way of Kompas Gaming.
And that's really not how they wanted to start things off. Black's first creep is a Hellbear Smasher, which is, I don't know, mediocre at best. The slow is going to be useful, but honestly, they really needed that lockdown. They're currently setting their eyes potentially on the mid, but I'm not sure Tinker is going to die to this. He's playing defensively enough. Let's see if they're able to combo things correctly. They run at him. He's going to run towards the north. The concussive shot is going to follow through, but they don't get the Hellbear Smasher in close enough. Eventually, they might be able to run him down. The arrow coming through from the Goddamn is going to land in the Blacks, and I think that's about all of their aggression. Although they're forcing Tinker away from the creeps, the Death Prophet isn't farming during this time.
Yeah, this is not exactly the aggressive start that Bennett really wanted. Their Hellbear is even going to go down right now, so it's a little bit more gold going the way of the Tinker. Blacks and Uniden, I mean, they're doing their job at keeping the Tinker off the lane, but they can only get away with that for so long. What they really need to do is just get a better angle and have a concussive shot that isn't going to be flying from a million miles away. Afroninja is actually doing a lot of damage to Blacks. Can't get the kill, it's only level 1 laser. But still, it's a lot of pressure being thrown the way of Enchantress regardless. And Tinker, although it is going to be a minor annoyance for him, it's nothing that he can't recover from, especially if he does have this Mirana who's going to be stacking up the Ancients. And that's going to be one stack for right now. There's no blocking or anything like that from Bennett +5, so they either have to kill this Tinker or block his Ancients or kill everyone else so that Tinker is the only person on Kompas gaming with any farm. And those are a lot of options for them, but they're all pretty difficult options.
Yep. Currently, they are going to find themselves a Haste Rune on the Skyrath Mage, but they have an Alpha Wolf, so they can't really get the kill, although they might be able to zone out the Tinker yet again. He is fairly low, and Afroninja, he might take a lot of the aggression, but currently it's just Uniden and Blacks chilling out in the jungle, and that's not going to help them. Their Viper is doing fine down at bottom, but they are going to find the Shackles onto Jinx. The arrow follow-up is going to land beautifully, and that's going to be another kill for Artis. Clinks 2 kills to his name. He's probably going to turn this into a Hand of Midas, potentially. I don't know. Maybe just go for the power treads. Not sure where he wants to take it, but after this early start, this is going to be very scary Clinks coming out from Kompas.
Really, this isn't how Bennett +5's lanes are supposed to work. They're supposed to be doing fine in all lanes. Bottom lane is doing amazingly. I mean, the Viper versus Puck matchup, especially in a non-mid lane, is going to very heavily favor the Viper. It probably can't get any kills without some help, but he can at the very least zone out the Puck very heavily. So Viper's doing a great job there, and mid lane also being doing decently for the Death Prophet, and she's holding on to a nice advantage there. But up top is really where they have to concern themselves, because Jinx God is going to get tagged with another arrow. This time the Shock is going to kill him off. That's 3 kills up on the top lane, all for the Razor. And bottom lane, Gorak in a little bit of trouble. He does have level 2 Orb, though, and somehow he had vision. So they're going to force the Orb out of Puck, but I don't think they could get this kill.
There's no silence. Yeah, they don't have a way to keep the Puck in place. He's going to take a lot of damage and be forced back, but yeah, I don't know. They weren't able to connect with the Centaur Stomp. They're going to take a tier 1 tower, which is useful for Bennett +5, but in mid, Death Prophet cheats an arrow and gets brought down by the Tinker. Mirana gets the last hit, but still, that makes up for the small disadvantage Tinker had in that lane. Bennett +5, I don't know, this early game is borderline disastrous. Getting that tier 1 tower does not make up for the fact that mid and top are just not having a good time at all.
Yeah, they're doing very little to stop the Tinker. They're doing nothing to stop the Clinks, and in fact, they're accelerating the Clinks very, very heavily. He has gone for the power tread, so it's probably just going to be a nice and simple Orchid build from here on out. But he's already level 5, and I think with shutting down the Razor this much, Razor's going to be one of those heroes that Clinks can very easily sneak up upon, pop the Orchid, and then just assassinate the Razor. And Razor ordinarily will be able to survive that. This game, not so much. Goddamn's going to wrap around the smoke gank from Jinx as well as Uniden and look towards mid lane. IDFC, if he gets tagged with an arrow, he simply will just die. Level 2 laser, not going to be the most impactful skill to kill off the Death Prophet, but level 3 March certainly will be. They're going to spot the fact that there's rotation up top, though, and it looks like Kompas Gaming going to go for, what, round 4 up on top lane? Jinx God, if he gets tagged with an arrow, or Skyrath, if either of these heroes get hit with an arrow, they're probably just going to die, as Clinks is rotating around, and he has Gloves of Haste, actually, so it might be a Hand of Midas after all. They're definitely looking for this one, diving very aggressively, but I don't know if they're going to find anything.
Yeah, too close to the tower. They put a lot of hurt in the tier 1 tower with the searing arrows coming up from Artis, but yeah, it looks like they're not going to find anybody just yet, although Jinx God, he drops his Plasma Field. There's no arrow, but now with the Shackles, easy setup for the arrow. It's going to land nicely onto Jinx God. They might lose Fee here, but oh, Skyrath Mage, he's a little too close. Are they going to be able to chase him down? No, they won't. Or Artis with the Ghost Walk, he might be able to get this kill. Now, under tower, it's just a little bit too aggressive of a dive, and let's see. They are going to go into the corner, and will find him with the Ether Shock as well as the right clicks, but now the Clinks is caught out with out a paddle here. He's going to salve up into the trees. One more auto attack from the tower. Goes pretty poorly for the Clinks, but it's better than it could have had as Tinker in mid gets chased down by IDFC. I don't know. Last Crypt Storm was all that they needed as all that action was going up in top. I didn't think the Clinks would dive that aggressively, but still 6-2. It was just a little bit of an overextension from Kompas.
Yeah, it still wasn't too bad. I mean, they got a couple kills, and really that's what they wanted. They got 2 for 1 up on the, or they got a 2-for-1 trade up on top. I don't really know what happened in mid. I can only assume it was the fact that Tinker does not have any boots, whereas the Death Prophet did have boots. Now Fee in the middle lane, sticking around at very low amounts of HP. However, Scarth unwilling to go in for that, especially with goddamn rotating in. But here comes Viper for one attack from the side with level 3 Nether Toxin, obliterating that Shadow Shaman. Did not see that one coming. Unidin is going to secure that kill for his team. 6-3 and Bennett +5. Finally getting something, but definitely not really enough, especially since this Razor just isn't farming. Now Artie's going to jump the Enchantress and Razor, although Static Link is going to pretty much demolish any attempts at Clinks of getting those kills. He's actually going to turn around. He's still doing 50 damage a pop with the Searing Arrows. That's 100 damage, and he just needs 5 hits to kill this Enchantress. I think he could get away with it. He's waiting for the Skeleton Walk to come back online. And Enchantress, yeah, she's just dead right here, I think.
Yeah, especially with an arrow. 1, 2, that's all he needed. Arda's going to be able to find a very easy kill on the Enchantress. Even without the arrow there, I think he could have gotten it since the Link was wearing off anyway in mid. It's going to be a push coming out from Bennett +5. The Tinker is still going to be pretty safe and we'll be able to drop a Marge, but that's about all that he can do. The Glyph is going to delay this push, and I think that in the meantime, Kompas Gaming will be able to take this tier 1 tower up top, although they're not close enough and their creeps are, I don't know, just not pushing fast enough to counteract this coming out from Bennett +5. So still, B+5, they're able to get these towers, but is it going to be enough? I think losing the tier 1s is going to be acceptable for Kompas Gaming as long as they're able to get the map control back a little bit later on. Concussive Shot going to land on the Tinker, but he'll be just fine.
Well, at the very least, it shows Bennett +5. They're not on tilt. This is exactly what they wanted to do with their lineup. Group up and use the early power of the heroes such as the Viper, the Death Prophet, and, well, on paper, the Razor, in order to get these towers, then snowball that into a lead. They've already taken 2 of those towers down, despite the fact that their Razor has had pretty much the worst start I've ever seen a Razor have, ever. They're still playing the way that their lineup is supposed to be played, and you gotta hand it to them as far as that is concerned. It's good to see teams doing that. But is it going to be enough? It's the question you asked, and I am actually just not sure, because RT he's pushing very aggressively up on top lane. He has Death Pack, so even if Blacks comes around with the creep, he will be, well, first of all, spotted out, and then we have a pause. Okay, so we got RT's who's going to be hit with a concussive shot. That should be it, though. He should be able to Skeleton Walk away if he does want to. I think he's probably just going to aim to Death Pack to creep, though. Probably the Centaur if he can get his hands on it.
I think so as well. There's the Skeleton Walk, and well, that's going to be about it. That was very anticlimactic, the pause, and now he might be able to munch himself a Centaur as well, and potentially make a turn with Fee around here. There's too many enemy heroes, and he only has a Shadow Shaman in reserve, so he might eat the creep and then back off again once he has another Skeleton Walk in 3 seconds, or he's just going to do nothing and go towards mid. Either way, it's going to be more or less just a null exchange. It doesn't even happen. It is going to be a Midas, I think, on your Clinks. He's going to go for it after the Power Treads. I think he could have gotten away with this earlier, but it's still a sub 9-minute Midas. After going for Aquila and Power Treads, this Clinks is still incredibly farmed.
Yeah, this guy is terrifying. I don't know if he's going to go for the full Blink Dagger Clinks build, if he's just going to go straight for the Orchid. Either way, it's going to be really hard for Ben +5 to deal with. They are grouping up and pushing down the top lane. With the Viper still farming on the bottom, he's very close to his mech, and once he has that, then Ben +5 are probably going to look to take down some tier 2 towers. Arrow's going to fly, it will connect onto the Death Prophet, but Serpent Warriors are down as well. Still, the tower's taking quite a bit of damage. They're going to Moonlight Shadow, at least try to force Kompas Gaming back. Shocks as well. They're dropping pretty low, and it looks like it will be enough to defend the tower. Alright, well, they don't lose the tower, though they do spend a whole lot to actually get it done. Not much has been happening on the other sides of the map either. I mean, Gorek's getting a little bit of farm in top lane. They are going to go in for the Enchantress, though the Mirana is going to be picked off in exchange. Now Fee needs one more hit to kill him off, and it will be the birds that ultimately kills him. Gorek now teleporting in a little bit too late, however. I don't really know if getting that Enchantress is worth it. They're going to drop the coil onto Jinx, but this Razor, even if they do get the kill, isn't really going to be the biggest deal in the world. Gorek deciding not to jump in on that. It's got to be a lot of restraint from the puck. I think many other players would have tried to get the double there.
Well, I think he could have gotten it, to be honest, but then again, he might have given away his life. He's an offline puck. I think you go for it, but yeah, I don't know. Just taking the more reserved play, not exactly knowing where the rest of the team was. And he also had no backup. Although the Tinker, he does have his Boots of Travel finished and might have been able to help him a little bit, although the creeps were dying. I don't know. It's something you can only think about. You can't really evaluate how it's actually going to go down. Either way, KPG, they're kind of getting over the hump right now of their early game, or, I mean, it's not really a hump. Both teams are pretty even, but I don't know, KPG do have about a 2,000 gold lead and about the same experience, about 3,000 there. Tinker does have his boost of travel finished, as aforementioned, working towards his Blink Dagger next, farming very quickly despite dying once. I don't know, kind of the life of a Tinker, especially when your Ancients are blocked. Artis is currently smoked up inside the enemy jungle, potentially hunting the Enchantress as the puck up top. Might be able to make something happen. Let's see. They're going to collapse onto Gork. They don't throw any disables his way. They net him down. Now the silence comes out from the Scarlet Mage with the ultimate from the Sky. They probably have enough damage. One more impetus. It is going to be disjointed. It's on the backlines. Clinks is trying to unload into Blacks, but then he gets caught out with the static Link. He's losing too much damage. They will get the kill on the puck in the end, and well, now also the Shadow Shaman is going to fall after getting silenced up during the Shackles. With the Exorcism going, IDFC might be able to find a Courier, trying to decide who to go on. Godam is going to die to the last couple of those Ghosts, and the Cargo from the Courier is going to be dropped as he's going to die as well. 3 and a Courier pretty much given away at Bened +5. Kompas Gaming taking a very sketchy engagement. Tinker throughout all of that was down in bottom, probably could have TP'd in to help. I don't know, potentially a little bit of miscommunication.
He actually did teleport up there, and he threw out one set of missiles, and that was it. Like, level 2 missiles are rather mediocre at this stage, and really this is the power of Bened +5's lineup. The Viper, Razor, as well as Death Prophet are all very much so self-sufficient heroes, as I said before, but they also could fight very effectively early on, especially when you get into a giant clash with the likes of Clinks and the Puck and the Shadow Shaman, all of which are going to just crumble once you get right into their faces. They're going to take the top lane and try to go for the bottom lane kill as mid lane kill as well. IDFC's Cryptstorm will blindly miss. Good attempt from the Death Prophet, but ultimately not enough. And now on top lane, they are still moonlit up, although it looks like they're going to not going to go in. And arrows going to fly, hit onto a poor Wild Wing. It's going to be a tower for tower trade in the end, but still Bened +5 taking a fantastic team fight up on top. Kompas Gaming, they can't really afford to get into those huge 5-on-5 rumbles. It's got to be pick off one hero at a time, especially with the Clinks on the field. Your Clinks, before he has BKB, is not going to be happy moving into those 5v5 engagements because he's going to be focused down and killed off so quickly.
Yeah. Artis did survive, and he does have his one Oblivion staff now, but Bened +5, they've found themselves a little bit more of an opening. Razor still has next to nothing, 0-4 and 4, as well as not farming very well. He's going to start making up a little bit of that slack. The Tinker, also surviving throughout all of that, is going to have his completed Blink Dagger at less than 13 minutes, and this Tinker is already incredibly scary, so despite how bad that last fight went, the pickoff potential coming out from Kompas Gaming is still pretty solid, and they've lost all of their Tier 1 towers, whereas they've only taken 2 on the enemy side. There's still that 1 Tier 1 tower for them left to take, and they're already running with an advantage. The Enchantress throughout all of this hasn't had a terrible game, but hasn't had a great game either, and I don't know, the heyday for Enchantress is kind of already over. She doesn't really have the opportunity to get very many kills. And Roshan Pit, Bened +5 are going to go. It's not the fastest Rosh, but with Exorcism it's definitely possible. And it doesn't look like Kompas Gaming are jumping in, although they are going to smoke around the pit. Arrow is going to land under Roshan. They drop the subboards on the high ground, and on the sideline they're going to try to go for the Scarlet Mage, but the ultimate's going to be too much for Artis. He's going to drop before this fight begins. And, well, the Tinker is on the sidelines. They might be able to find themselves a Blacks, but Blacks is healing up with those Nature's Tenements. They're going to leap forward with the Mirana, but that's a little too ballsy. Won't be able to go into it. And the Starborns are just going to be farmed up, and I think Roshan is more or less forfeit.
Well, I mean, Bened +5 do get the free kill on the Clinks. They all take a good amount of damage. They can't get the Roshan, which isn't really a terribly huge deal because they could just rinse, repeat, and do that again. Kompas Gaming, without the Clinks, they don't have enough damage to kill the Roshan, so the Bened +5 side doesn't really have to worry about losing this Roshan, as it's probably not going to be stolen. However, you know, despite the kill on the Clinks, that is going to pave the road for Kompas Gaming to, at the very least, stall the Aegis and now get Blink Daggers on both the Puck and the Shadow Shaman. Surprisingly timed, these two Blink Daggers. You would very rarely see Shadow Shaman pick up the Blink Dagger at the same time as a Puck, let alone that time being 15, 14 minutes into the game. So Blink Dagger is certainly going to help Kompas get the initiation that they want, and if they could make that fight a 4v5 before it really starts, then Clinks is going to be feeling so much more comfortable. They're going to go into the Roshan pit, and although Bened +5, they are converging on this position, the Hellbear is going to scout everything else first, and now Artie's, he's going to get into his invisibility before anything else could land. Mystic Flare was nowhere near anything. Now Gorik going to jump forward for Blacks. The damage is just barely going to be enough. Fee also jumping in, although he's not going to have the luxury of walking out of here. Artie's now going to be focused down, though not much damage because of the Moonlight Shadow disjointing most of it. That's going to be a 1-for-1 support for support trade. Bened +5, they're not too healthy, and now Puck is going to get another initiation on these two heroes. He's going to silence, he's going to phase shift and dodge the silence. Now up to the high ground he goes, looking for reinitiation. He does have quite a bit of mana, so Gorik looking for an angle, though I don't think he's going to find it. Artis has been on the bottom lane, pushing all the while the team has been skirmishing. And Bened +5, they have to fall back.
Yeah, I don't know, just a very interesting engagement. Roshan is still incredibly low, and I don't think either of these teams can really feel comfortable going into the pit. Puck is eventually going to get down from his high ground perch and join the rest of his team, as this tier 1 tower down in bottom is looking pretty tasty. Klinks can take this more or less solo, but if he has a backup, he can do it without much of a fear of anybody jumping in onto him. Although, we might see that happen as an arrow is going to land onto Jabin 0, and now they jump in with the Serpent Ward trap being on the point onto the Vipers. Enough damage to get this with the mech. He's pretty darn tanky, and Fee's going to give up his life before the Viper falls. He's trying to eat his way through the Serpent Wards. It's not going to be enough. Eventually, is he going to be able to get out the rockets from the Tinker? Are going to secure that kill. Now on the backline, it's a very scrappy engagement. It's going to be a 1-for-1 to start, as well as Serpentward's falling. Arrow lands in the Roshan, and both teams are just kind of standing off. You don't really want to fight into the March of Machines, and into the Roche they go with Gorik as well as Artis. Goddamn is going to eat a lot of damage from that Plasma Field as they silence up Gorik and now land with the Cryptstorm as well as the silence. It's going to be enough damage, even though this Mystic Flare was completely off the mark. 2-for-1 in the trade. Roshan still standing. Arrow going to land onto him. Artis is pretty darn low. Wants to get the Aegis as fast as possible. The Cryptstorm's going to miss. The Arcane Bolt is going to be disjointed by the Evil Scepter from the Death Prophet. They drop him back to the ground, and then silence him up in another Cryptstorm. 2-for-2 the entire trade, I believe, and all of that. But Roshan, crucially, is going to go away with Bened +5.
Man, this game is just so weird. IDFC might get killed by Roshan. He's at literally 2 HP. I think he's going to be fine, guys. Don't panic. IDFC is going to be... Yeah, he's going to live. He's going to get earned up, and there's no potential for sniping off here. They're actually going to smoke now. They have actually complete map control of this area. They've been placing sentries galore just to make sure that the Klinks doesn't get the jump on them. And with this smoke, they're going to look to get a jump on the Tinker. If they get any lockdown at all, they'll be able to kill him off. But again, they have no long-range stun. They're mostly just... their best bet is just try to catch Tinker in the middle of a hectic fight. Picking him off solo like that is definitely not going to happen. Regardless, it is going to be Bened +5 securing the Aegis finally after like a 5-minute fight or something like that. The question is, can they do anything off of this? They're definitely going to try, as they're all mobilizing down in the bottom lane. Level 2 Exorcism up and available, ready to go for a push. And if they kill off Fee, that'll be huge, but killing him off, again with the Blink Dagger, is going to be really difficult for Bened +5. If they do get this tier 2 tower, it's going to be most likely at the trade of top.
Yeah, for sure. We do have Artis as well as Gorik up in top lane. The Tinker has a dagging completed at 17 minutes, and his farm is very good as they TP up top, trying to defend this tower. They're going to get a lot of damage onto it. Will Artis be able to get out of here safely? I think so. He should be fine. He has another Ghost Walk if things really go south, and now he's going to use it. Going to the backlines, potentially looking for this pickoff on Uniden. They jump in with the puck to double Dream Coil. It's actually only going to land onto Uniden, and well, in the meantime, we are going to have the Viper dropping his payload onto Artis, and Artis, with that enhanced magic damage, they will be able to get that kill onto the Klinks. Tinker's in here, will snipe out the Skywrath Mage, but might lose his life. He's not able to rearm fast enough, and he's going to drop. Oh my goodness, the Enchantress is also going to fall. They use the Serpent Wards for that pickoff, but Tier 2 Tower is still standing. 2-for-2 trade across the map, favoring Bened +5, losing her 2 supports.
Yeah, getting the pick off on the Klinks and the Tinker to boot. I didn't think the Tinker was going to drop there just because he was already in a safe position, but then he voluntarily moved himself into a more dangerous position in order to secure the kill, which is, I guess fine, but ultimately not going to benefit him that much. In fact, it's going to hurt him quite a bit. The Viper's still doing quite a bit of damage with maxed out Nether Toxin, and he's tanky as all hell. So now, off of that very nice trade for Bened +5, trading their 2 supports for the 2 cores. They're going to push very aggressively into this tier 2. They still have the Aegis onto Jinx, so the Eye of the Storm is always going to be zapping everyone, and, well, Tinker is not up, so they can't defend this with March of Machines or anything like that. It should be going down. Tinker can eventually lay some March layers down, but it's not going to be in time. The tower's going to go down. Here comes the Shadow Shaman, jinxing the attack with an arrow, though he does have the Aegis, so maybe they want to let Razor fall and then re-engage once he's dead, although he's not going to die at all. Gorik's going to pick him off on the sideline. Actually, there it is. Now Razor's going to be coming right back up, and, well, Jabane definitely looking for a way in, but this time the March of the Machines is up, and Bened +5, there's no sense in risking a push like this, so they're all going to teleport, get away, and start defending their side lanes. It's a nice little push from Bened +5, and it's going to buy them a little bit more time. Uniden, though, going to find Uniden. Gorik going to find Uniden, though, and he's going to be brought down. Although Gorik taking quite a bit of damage, now getting the damage drained out from the Razor. Arteez is going to come around. Arrow going to once again hit on this Razor. That's like the 6th arrow at least. That's going to be him down, and also in the bottom area, it looks like Afro Ninja definitely spotted out the wrong person, the wrong neighborhood. Blacks was here for some reason, just got 100 to 0'd by the Tinker.
Yeah, I suppose if you can be that on the point with your Mirana arrows with very little setup outside of Shackles, and even that, well, now it's pretty solid, but even in the early portions of the game, Goddamn was more or less freehanding those, and they've been very much on point. the arrows this game have really paid off, and looking for another one. Will they be able to find him? I actually can't see the arrow model in the game. I can only see the effects, but I guess that's enough. Death Prophet is currently throwing out some Crypt Storms in mid, but with the Serpent Wards on the ground, the Tier 2 tower is probably slated to fall fairly soon. The Glyph's going to delay things, but with March of Machines, I'm not sure if Bened +5 really want to jump into this. It's down to about half, and IDFC is going to start farming away the Serpent Ward, so be able to clean up some of these as Viper gets arrowed. That's not going to be a defense coming out from them anytime soon, and jDL3 is actually going to take a lot of damage, dropped to below half with just the rockets as well as the March and Serpent Wards.
Well, it's a nice little pick off for Kompas Gaming. Their Clinks is now on the prowl looking for whoever he can get his hands on. However, he was spotted out by a Sentry Observer combination near the Roshan pit, so he shouldn't be dropping anytime soon. Scores 15-15, remarkably even as far as games are concerned in general. Kompas Gaming with a slight golden experience advantage, but Bened +5, they have pretty even scaling going towards the late game with the Death Prophet, Razor, and Viper, all progressing into the late game at relatively similar rates. So if it does go into a late game situation, Bened +5 should have a fighting chance. They won't just get completely overrun by Tinker and Clinks, who are, although are very powerful, are going to be 2v3 as far as scaling cores are concerned. So game is looking still pretty even. And, well, we still haven't seen this Clinks actually do anything as far as assassinating targets. His Orchid is relatively new, but he still hasn't found that single pick-off. And really, if your Clinks isn't applying that global map pressure just by being a threat, then really he's not doing his job. And now Gorak going to get hit with a full Mystic Flare. He's going to be whipped down by the Razor. Viper Strike hitting him for good measure. Here comes Artis from the back, although it looks like it'll be too late. Puck's already dead. On the bottom lane they go instead. Black's dropping pretty low, however Magic Sticks will keep him up a little bit longer. Goddamn trying to kill off someone, but the Spirits from this Death Prophet can eat away at that Mirana and make it a free kill for Bened +5. That's actually going to be 2 kills around the map for Bened, and it looks like that's going to be it for the action, at least for now. This Clink's still not doing that much.
Yeah, he's really not. It's kind of hard for the Clinks this game currently because they lost all of their outer tier towers, or their tier 1 towers and one of their tier 2s. So they don't have the greatest map control, and right now Bened +5, they're grouping up a little too much to where the Clinks can't really find the solo pickoffs. The Enchantress was solo for quite a large amount of time in the enemy jungle, but the Tinker was able to mop that one up. Yeah, this Orchid hasn't really done anything, and Clinks, I don't know, he's going to have the BKB or whatever his next item is very shortly, which would be wonderful for him, but in the end, it's Clinks that's not able to really apply that pressure. I mean, when he's missing, it's going to be wonderful, but currently, inside the enemy jungle, they're going to find themselves a Fee as they drop him down to the ground, but the Tinker's inbound. Fee's still taking a lot of damage. Blacks is going to drop the Illusion Runes as the Ghost Scepter on the Tinker. I think he's going to survive here. He's going to get silenced up, and I believe that blocked his rearm, but it's not going to block the Clinks' auto attacks that are going to rip to shreds the Death Prophet. On the backlines, we are having the Enchantress man fight up against the Tinker, and that's not a fight she can win, especially with Artis also in the fray. That's going to be a mega kill streak going the way of the Shadow Shaman before he falls, as well as a Clinks getting a whole heck of a lot of gold.
Top lane, an arrow landed onto Jinx God once again, and he's going to be brought down very swiftly. Feet from the back end, going to drop the wards and solo kill Unidin pretty much, although Half a Ninja's going to clean up everything because that's what Tinkers do. Now they're going to blink forward very aggressively. Free-handed arrow, going to be thrown the wrong direction as jDL3 off to the left instead. He's going to look to teleport out, and it looks like he will stick the landing there, but Bened +5, all these little skirmishes around the map is what KPG, exactly, it's what they want to have happen, especially with the Clinks on the field. They're going to take 4 kills home in exchange for absolutely nothing. Kind of even exchanges all around the map, all things considered. But the more KPG can avoid the full 5-on-5 fights, and they could take the 2v2s, the 3v2s, and stuff like that, then Clinks as well as Tinker are just going to be so much more influential in this game. So they're looking now for jDL3 over in mid. Goddamn, he's been pretty damn good with his arrows, although it's not going to be thrown this time. They now have a Ghost Scepter completed, not a Ghost Scepter, a Ethereal Blade on Tinker, and he's going to jump forward for the Death Prophet, almost 100-0ing here, though Yule Scepter will save her, although Arrow, the Bottle Charge is going to keep the Death Prophet alive, but the Tinker just flexing his muscles at this point, and with the Dagon to level up 4 more times, he's going to be able to 100-0 pretty much everyone.
Yeah, more or less, especially if this Enchantress is running with less than 1,000 HP, she'll be dropped incredibly quickly. Ghost Scepter not going to save you there. In the meantime, they were going on the puck over in the Dire Jungle, but Gorak was able to bounce away. There's just not enough lockdown coming out from Bened +5, and they'd really want something along the lines of a Hexes. There is going to be another arrow landing on a Jinx God. It seems that he's just been mopping those up throughout the game. Clinks gets the last hit on the tower, and in R2-2, Long Wave Kompas Gaming, they find themselves a Blacks and now jumping with Gorak. There's going to be Scarlet Mage Ultimate down onto excuse me, this Shadow Shaman. He's going to drop pretty low, but the Mirana ultimate's going to keep everybody pretty safe. But here comes the Tinker combo. It's almost going to drop Uniden all the way in. He got in the laser off, it would have been a kill. But now, just going to be forced to retreat as there's too many enemy heroes without enough backup. The Puck is over on the sidelines. He's going to drop a Yule Scepter the way of IDFC, but Puck, with the haste rune, he should be safe here. They aren't going to be able to chase him down. Going to phase shift dodge a little bit of that poison damage and potentially look to make a turn. As on the backlines, we do have the Mirana being chased down by an Arcane Bolt. She is silenced up, but the Death Prophet is going to be dropped down and bottom to the Clinks. Shadow Shaman wards are also coming to that tier 3 tower, and this fight is, I don't know, pretty much extending the entirety of the dire side of the map currently. We are going to have top being pushed down by Kompas Gaming. The tier 3 tower and bottom is going to remain intact, although dropping to about half health.
Arties is looking for more. He has an Orchid ready, and Uniden's looking awfully tasty right now. He doesn't have any extra damage from his ultimate, but he's still looking for it. And if Uniden... Oh, okay, now he doesn't have Razor support. Now he's just dead. RT is going to find another free kill. That entire series of engagements very heavily benefited Kompas Gaming, and a lot of that, if not all of that, has to be favored to that Mirana with the Moonlight Shadow. They were caught in a position where Ben+5 were all grouped up in the mid lane. There was a moment literally where everyone from Ben were grouped up as 5 in the middle lane, but they used the Moonlight Shadow, they disengaged, and they managed to spread the fight into the top lane and as well as into the bottom lane. And once that happened, Ben+5, they sent a couple heroes to deal with it, but Death Prophet teleported down to the bottom lane, got 100 to 0'd by the combination of Shadow Shaman and Klink's damage, and well, they just took that free kill as well as brought the tower down to half HP. And Kompas Gaming really doing their best in order to make sure that these fights are spread out as much as they possibly can be. And when they're spread out amongst 3 lanes, it literally does not get any better than that. So if Kompas Gaming can continue to disengage those 5-on-5 fights and fight in these small areas, then the lack of stuns are certainly going to start to catch up to Ben+5 as they are going to land yet another arrow onto Jabane 0, although this time with no follow-up. This is pretty much Kompas Gaming's lineup at its full strength right now, where they're going to be applying pressure to every single lane, use the mobility of the Puck, the Klinks, as well as the Tinker, in order to keep Ben+5 off guard, and then when a single hero gets out of position, if it's going to be the Skywrath being picked off by the Klinks, or anyone being picked off by the shotgun combination of the Tinker, they're just going to buy so much space so that everyone can get more and more farm, and then eventually go for an objective, whether it's Roshan, like right now, or a straight push up the tier 3 towers.
Artis feels that he doesn't need a BKB and has a completed Daedalus that he just sent to himself on the courier. This Klinks is dishing, and the heroes, the Enchantress, Skywrath Mage, every hero on the side of Ben+5 for that matter, is just going to melt to this damage. Now with an Aegis, he actually doesn't care. He's going to be able to maintain the extra amount of health coming out from his ultimate, as well as that extra boost of damage. When he has a big creep, he's critting for over 700. And, I don't know, when you talk about the extra attack speed coming out from his strafe, that's pretty ridiculous amount of DPS.
Alright, so it looks like Kompas Gaming might be on the receiving end of a 5-man smoke. This is exactly what Ben+5 want to do as far as fighting is concerned, especially if they get a pick off onto Goddamn, but they don't have any stuns to open this up, so they're just going to run at them. Goddamn's going to get 4-staffed out, doesn't have a leap, though Moonlight Shadow trying to save the Mirana. I don't think it's going to work. Now she has the gem on the deck. V heroically trying to grab it, but ultimately is going to end up giving his life as well. Unit on the backlines will survive the Tinker combination. That's a free 2-kill for Ben+5, though they have to teleport up to the top lane. Artis is doing his best to keep them off balance. Now here comes the Tinker one more time, gonna kill off the Death Prophet. And is there going to be anyone else? Gorak off to the side, will Yules himself up into the air, has a phase shift as well, and still the Tinker is in the area, though he doesn't actually have that much mana. Puck blinking out as well as the Tinker teleporting out. Nothing can interrupt these TPs and this mobility coming out from Kompas Gaming. Artis has also made his rotation in, though he can't really find anyone. Ben+5 doing a decent enough job at staying together, but there's only so much you could do when the enemy is coming at you from all sides. Artis still playing some games with the enemy. There's a gem on Razor, though probably not the best hero to have it on. I would rather see that item on the Viper right now. It's going to be, Ben+5 losing the Death Prophet once again. She does have her heart completed. Whenever once she respawns, she'll start claiming that, but still, these fights just aren't good enough for Ben+5 because they're slowly running out of room to farm, and really their map control is nil at this point.
Yeah, right now it's Kompas Gaming's game to lose, as the Tinker is able to maintain all of the lanes pushed out entirely on the side of Ben+5's portion of the map. And if you look pretty much that line is where they're more or less stuck, and Arrow's going to land yet again onto jBane's 0. I think the Mirana is just more or less showing off. It gets in your head when you just constantly have these arrows landing, buffing his stats as they get a silence off on the sidelines, but Artis blows up the Skywrath Mage. They're going to force staff away the Shadow Shaman. He might still fall here, and it looks like he is just going to tick down to the poison as the puck not going to jaunt to that orb. It is going to be 1-for-1 across the map as the Klinks was on the backlines. He is going to be Yule Sceptered up. He is Invis up, although he is getting his damage stolen. Currently 56. He's going to get silenced on top of it. Now slowed down. The Enchantress going to start throwing out some impetus as they dust up Artis, force staff away. We'll keep him relatively safe as Dream Coil lands on all three. There's not enough follow-up, and now Gorik incredibly low. We'll be able to jaunt down to just the south, but it's not going to save him. They need one more auto attack. Will they be able to find it? He's Invis, and they won't be able to do so as he blinks away to safety. Now another arrow landing on IDFC. They bring in the Tinker. He does have a full combo, but he needs to get out of there, but he will blow up the Razor. Just look at that damage. He doesn't have a slot to pick up that gem, and the Force Staff is going to secure his demise, as that's going to amplify the impetus damage. Probably would have died anyway, but it is going to be the gem maintained as puck jumps in again onto Blacks. Black's probably going to fall here. They need one more auto attack. They're not going to be able to find it. The damage just isn't there. 24 seconds on the dagging cooldown. The DD puck's not going to be enough as Blacks one more auto attack finds it. There you go. And now the Death Prophet Exorcism is worn off. They don't have enough backup here. Where's the Klinks and the Tinker and all of this? They're just playing Ring Around the Rosies for now. Puck, Gore, very little HP. Actually doesn't care. They're going to Yule Scepter up the Death Prophet, and here's the Klinks. Let's see, Arrow going to land on IDFC, and IDFC is screwed. There you go. Yule Scepter up in the air will delay things as he silence up Artis. Artis might die. Actually, with the concussive shot as well as the Arcane Bolt, there's your Aegis down, and IDFC somehow survives throughout all of that. Gore going to phase shift, dodge the Arcane Bolt, and the Tower Shot as he jumps back into the base. He's going to be able to find himself a Death Prophet pick, but probably going to die. Is that last Tower Shot going to be disjointed? It will, as the Viper Strike goes the way of the Tinker. He's going to TP back to base. Another arrow lands into jBane's 0. We are going to have Puck picking up another Dagon, and now they get the Surfboard Trap onto jBane's 0. He's stuck inside those Surfboards, but they don't have the follow-up damage. You'll be able to munch through those. The Razor's still in this fight, and they're trying to pick off Jinx God. He gets a Mechanism heal. They just need one more combo from the Tinker. Will they find it? Come on, just jump in there. One more Dagon Zap is all they needed. It's got him. Is very low inside the enemy base, and Arrow's going to land yet again on jBane's 0. He's trying to get back to base. Not going to happen as the gem's on the deck. 2-3 tower finally falls, and now Artis inside the base. He wants that gem. He's going to be able to find it with that Aegis slot missing. Now Artis and company probably need to get the back to their base, but they get the tier 3 tower in a very long drawn-out fight. I'm not sure how that actually wins. The Tinker jumps back in, not able to drop the full combo, and we'll just go back after the fact. Are they actually getting out of the base? No, they're not, as Blacks is going to be jumped on by the Puck. The Dagon doing a lot of damage, as with the Rockets. Black surviving because of the extra heal he has. TP's coming in, back from the Viper, and now Concussive Shot slow going the way of Gorik. Gorik going to be silenced up. The Viper Strike also going to land. No, disjointed by the Yule Scepter. No, actually did fall onto him. Artis is back into this engagement. I believe he has his BKB finish. No, it's on the base, and they will lose. Fee on the backlines. Double Dream Coil, not going to be followed up by any damage, and the Death Prophet's back in. She's going to Yule Scepter up the Puck. The Puck is still surviving throughout all of this. Now back onto the ground. Probably will be able to escape the Cryptstorm. It's going to be off the mark, and the Blink will be successful coming up from Gorik. Now the phase shift away. I think it's just going to be a full retreat from Kompas Gaming. There you go. That's the end of it.
Taking a quick look at how that ultimately panned out, I want to say it was very narrow who actually came ahead on that fight. Of course, the tier 3 was claimed by Kompas Gaming, but I think Kompas Gaming took one, maybe two more kills than B+5, and I don't think there were any buybacks in that last fight. It seems like the Tinker did buyback, and that's a pretty heavy cost for the Tinker, but still very much so worth it. Kompas Gaming, in general, just pretty much running circles, literally, around the B+5 side. There were so many heroes that got away with like single digits or double digits on HP, and there was nothing that B+5 could do to actually lock those heroes down. The lack of stuns certainly punishing them quite heavily, as Gorak going to try to run away, though. Gets tagged by 1 point of the poison. Is now going to try to TP out. This Puck is absolutely fearless. He will die in base. The poison just enough to kill him off. I think Puck could have ran away if he used all of his mobility, but deciding instead for the teleportation out is going to mean that B+5 now have a nice opportunity to do something without that Puck on the field. But is it going to be enough? Because bottom lane and top lane are both pushing very aggressively. They have their Death Prophet, who has Exorcism as well as Heart. She is very difficult to kill, and Kompas Gaming have been investing a lot of time in order to kill her off. But they're going to try to go for the high ground now. This is pretty much their best chance. They're going to force KPG to fight in a 5v5 matchup, and that's exactly what KPG do not want to have happen. Arrow's going to fly, will not hit onto anything, but now the Tinker is going to start with his defense. Missiles as well as March to fly, and Appanage not that much mana, but they're going to very quickly start losing these Raxes. It will be at the trade, though. The base of B+5 is under breach, and melee Raxes on the Dire side are gone, and the Radiant side as well. That's so far a 1-for-1 Rax trade, And it looks like everyone's going to start teleporting back, although no, RT is going to make it 2 for 1. The Serpent Wards are still firing on the melee racks, and now goddamn, going to look to interrupt as many TPs as he can, though he's going to immediately get silenced, and Mystic Flare will not kill him off just yet. It's going to be 1.5 sets of Raxes in exchange for 1 Rax, and the Dire Courier goes down as well. I think Kompas Gaming taking yet another great trade. This Klink's backdoor is just so good.
Is still on Artis, has used the Skeleton Walk and looking for Blacks, and oh, Blacks, I think he's dead here. Will he be able to find the vision? There he goes, silence up. Ghost Scepter's going to save him for now. He just needs to wait that one out. Let's see if he's going to be able to find it. Tinker's also inbound the Dagon. Ethereal Blade obliterates the poor... Oh, they do get the silence off onto Afro Ninja here as he's going to be able to waddle his way away from this. The BKB pop on the backlines by the Klinks, going to be able to destroy the Skywrath Mage. jDL3 is still not taking that much damage. Tinker's able to survive back to the base. The Klinks still on about half HP, does have the creep available, but it's not going to be enough. They're not going to engage in this, but still, the melee barracks in mid is not too healthy, and KPG find themselves a really good trade previous to that one. Now 5,000 gold on top of that for the Klinks, and a Tinker that's also operating with a maxed out Dagon, and presumably towards the Hex is this next item. KPG are just so scary to fight up into. But Ned +5, if they're able to find the 5-on-5 engagement, that's another story, but if they lose one, it's all over in the team fight.
And Hardy's just going to go straight to the mid Raxes and pseudo backdoor that one. Bandit +5. Now with 2 Raxes down, the game gets so much more difficult for them. It's not exactly as bad versus a Nature's Prophet or a Wisp or anything like that, but the Klinks and Tinker are pretty much playing that role. Their job is to just keep the lanes into the Bandit +5 side, and well, with the lanes pushing in organically, it'll just be as much chip damage as Kompas Gaming can put onto the towers, whether it's diving forward for a Serpent Ward deployment in order to kill a tower, or just putting Klinks into the base on top or mid, and then trying to go for tier 4 is even viable enough, because Bandit +5, they're going to have the luxury of fighting in a full 5-on-5 matchup, which is exactly what they want, but they're not going to have that much time to do it, as RT's is pretty much running rampant in the Bandit +5 base. Now 3 heroes going up there, they can't even catch this Klinks, and right off of that, they're going to go in onto mid and on bottom at the exact same time. Bandit +5, they just need like 3 more heroes in this game. Oh, there we go. Jump in for the Skywrath Mage. He's going to get obliterated, but Tinker and the Ghost Scepter, they take a lot of damage from the Viper. He doesn't have a way out of here. Force Staff out, trying to TP now, though he does get silenced and he will be brought down, but it's really in the bottom lane where they have to worry because jDL3 teleported in as the Viper. Going to get wailed upon by RDs. The Serpent Ward's still going for the melee Raxes. That's going to be going down. Death Prophet dropping very low as well. Throwing up into the air from the Yule Scepter. Going to save it for a little bit of time, but RC's now in the BKB. Will kill off the Viper, then the Death Prophet following. Now Jinx God. It's one after another after another. It's a double kill for RDs. Plus, the full sets of Rax is going to go down. That's going to hit Bandit +5 so hard they're going to be forced to GG. Tinker takes one for the road and killing off the Enchantress. But yeah, Bandit +5, 5-on-5, just not good enough. They needed 9, 10 heroes if they actually wanted to defend that.
They really did. It was a pretty shaky mid-game coming out from Kompas Gaming. There were a couple of fights where they just kind of threw bodies, but at the end, Kompas Gaming just looking so strong. It's very hard to mess that up when you have 2 lanes down and you're running with like a Tinker and a Klinks that have complete map control. It's just so scary to play up into. And I don't know, the Klinks worked out in the end despite not getting online as fast as I thought he would. Once he had about 25-30 minutes in, the Klinks was the king of the hill.
Alright guys, this is the best of 3, so there's 2 more games maximum coming up. With Kompas Gaming up 1-0, we'll see if they can close it out 2-0 over Bandit +5. Don't go anywhere because there's more Dota coming up right after this.